A king walks down to the edge of the Nile in the cool morning air. He is not bathing for leisure. He is performing a sacred duty. Into the temples of the civilization being crushed, you start to see something the random disaster reading completely misses. The plagues are not a chaotic assortment of ecological horrors, rotting in their fields. This is not a random viral outbreak. It is a public execution of the providers. But the God of the Hebrews is not done with this tier of the pantheon. He moves from the wealth of the fields to the skin of the oppressors. Moses walks to a brick kiln. He stands at the exact place where Hebrew slaves have spent, generations breaking their backs, baking mud and straw under the whips of taskmasters. He scoops up handfuls of fine, black soot from the furnace. He throws the ash of their slavery into the wind. The dust settles on the skin of the Egyptians. It burns. Blisters erupt on the arms of the merchants. Hot, painful sores swell on the faces of the priests. The magicians of Pharaoh's court rush to their temples. They pray to Imhotep, the god of medicine. They cry out to Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of healing, who holds the power to cure epidemics. They chant their ancient spells. Nothing happens. The text notes a humiliating detail. The magicians cannot even stand before Moses. The holiest, most powerful men in the empire are on the ground, scratching at their infected skin, completely powerless. Their magic is broken. Their medical gods are silent. They are a systematic, theological deconstruction. This matters because we still build empires. We still trust in airtight systems. We still look to our careers. Meanwhile, just a few miles away in the region of Goshen, the Hebrew slaves watch their healthy cattle graze. Their skin is clean. The air is clear. A sharp, terrifying line has been drawn in the sand between the empire and the slaves. The water is dead. The earth is cursed. The flesh is infected. But the heaviest blows are still waiting in the sky. The sky is the ultimate canopy of control. We build our schedules around its seasons. We plant our seeds, trusting its rain. We assume the ceiling of our world is a stable, predictable dome, and the ancient Egyptians believed this more deeply than anyone. They looked up and saw Nut. She was the great mother of the cosmos, a goddess depicted as a giant woman arching her star-spangled body over the earth, her fingers and toes touching the horizons. She was the shield. She protected Egypt from the chaotic void of deep space. And beside her operated Seth, the fierce deity of storms and protector of the crops. Together, they maintained the calm, predictable rhythm of the heavens, until Moses points his staff toward the clouds. A deafening crack of thunder shakes the polished temple floors. The text describes something terrifying, a meteorological impossibility. Hail falls, but it is mixed with fire flashing continuously in the midst of the ice. It is a storm of contradictions. Our bank accounts, our structures of order, and believe they are untouchable. We assume our modern pantheon will hold back the chaos. But the Exodus is a warning. The heavy spheres of ice smash the barley. The fire scorches the flax. The ancient sycamore trees are splintered into jagged wood. The agricultural spine of the empire is shattered in a single afternoon. Seth, the master of the storm, cannot calm the wind. Nut, the canopy of the sky, cannot stop the barrage falling through her domain. The hail is not a freak weather event. It is the ceiling of their reality caving in. Then, an east wind begins to blow. The eighth judgment rides on the breeze. A black, humming curtain of wings stretches across the horizon. Locusts. They devour every green stalk the hail missed. They strip the fruit from the shattered branches. They cover the ground until the earth itself appears black and crawling. The agricultural gods, Nepri, god of grain, and Ermutut, goddess of childbirth and crops, are completely humiliated. The breadbasket of the ancient world is reduced to a barren, chewed-up wasteland. When we read this today, it is easy to distance ourselves. We do not worship the sky, or the grain, or the storm, but we do worship predictability. We trust the supply chains, We trust the economic forecasts. We trust the structures that put food on our tables and keep the chaos at bay. We build our own canopies of control. We believe that if we just manage our resources well enough, if we just secure the right career or the right investments, we are safe. A reminder of what happens when the god of the desert steps into the spaces we thought we completely controlled. To feel the weight of this story, the destruction of Egypt's sky is a terrifying mirror. It forces us to ask what happens when the systems we trust to protect us suddenly turn against us. When the economy fractures, when the medical diagnosis shatters the calm rhythm of our plans, when God strips away the illusion of our independence to show us exactly who actually holds the world together, Egypt's providers are dead. Their protectors are silent. But there is one God left who still holds the ultimate allegiance of the empire, the greatest deity of them all, the giver of light. And he is about to go blind. The sun is the undisputed king of the Egyptian sky. It is not just a glowing orb of heat. To the empire, it is Ra. Ra is the supreme deity, the creator of the universe, the giver of life. Every pharaoh sits on the throne as the literal, begotten son of Ra. Every morning, when the sun crests over the eastern horizon, it is a daily theological victory. The priests teach that Ra has successfully navigated the underworld during the night, defeating the chaotic serpent of darkness to bring light back to the empire. The sun rising is the ultimate proof that the Egyptian system works. Moses does not even use his staff for this one. He simply stretches his bare hand toward the sky. The light dies. You cannot look at it through modern eyes. You have to step into the ancient sand. You have to realize that for an Egyptian, it does not fade into twilight. It does not mimic the heavy, gray shade of a rainstorm. The text in Exodus describes a darkness that can actually be felt. It is a physical, oppressive weight that presses against the skin and smothers the eyes. The darkness is not an eclipse. It is a coffin. You hold your hand 2 inches from your face and see absolutely nothing. You cannot see your children sitting on the floor beside you. The grand temples of Ra, plated in pure gold to reflect his magnificent glory, are completely swallowed in an impenetrable, suffocating blackness. One day passes, then a second, then a third. For 72 hours, the greatest god in the Egyptian pantheon is entirely erased. Every morning, the priests wait for Ra to rise and defeat the darkness. And every morning, the darkness holds him down by the throat. The cosmic order is broken. The supreme deity is a prisoner in his own domain. The psychological terror of this moment is staggering. The people do not leave their homes. They sit in the thick, silent dark, realizing that their creator has been overpowered. Their entire reality has been unplugged. But a few miles away, in the slave quarters of Goshen, the windows are glowing. The text simply notes that the Hebrews have light in their dwellings. The line between the empire and the slaves has never been sharper. There was no such thing as nature. There were only gods. And the man with the staff is not there just to negotiate a labor dispute. The god of the desert is manipulating the very fabric of the cosmos, proving that light is not an independent force of nature, and it certainly does not belong to Ra. Light is a resource that belongs exclusively to Yahweh, and he gives it to whoever he chooses. Ra is dead. The pantheon is decimated. The economy is in ruins, but there is still one god left standing in the dark, the god who wears the crown. Look at the solid gold serpent carved into the front of the royal headdress. It sits right above the eyes of the king. We look at it and see a piece of ancient jewelry. The ancient Egyptians saw a loaded weapon. They believed that golden cobra would literally spit divine fire at the enemies of the empire. We view Pharaoh as a political dictator. We imagine a stubborn ancient CEO holding onto his free labor. We think he is simply defending his economy. But that is our modern, Western lens projecting onto ancient sand. Pharaoh is not a politician. He is a divine anchor. He is the living, breathing incarnation of the falcon god Horus. He is the physical bridge between the realm of the deities and the dirt of the earth. He is there to dismantle a pantheon, The battle recorded in the book of Exodus is not primarily a conflict between a wandering shepherd. His heartbeat is what keeps the universe from collapsing into chaos. The entire Egyptian system rests on his shoulders. The first 9 strikes systematically dismantled his staff. The river bled. The dust bit. The herds dropped. The sky burned. The sun suffocated. The magic failed. The crops rotted. The light died. But the system was not fully severed. Because the god in the palace still wore the crown, God saves the heaviest blow for the highest throne. He targets the firstborn. We often read this final plague as a horrific, collective punishment, a brutal tragedy meant to finally snap the king's rigid will. But in ancient Egyptian theology, the firstborn son of Pharaoh is not just a prince in waiting, he is the next deity in line. He carries the divine seed of Ra. He is the future of the cosmic order. By striking the firstborn, Yahweh is not merely inflicting emotional grief. He is amputating the divine bloodline. He is proving that the gods of Egypt have absolutely no future. Midnight arrives. The judgment sweeps across the delta. A collective scream tears through the heavy, dark air. You can hear it rising from the damp brick dungeons of the captives. You can hear it echoing across the polished limestone courtyards of the nobles. You can hear it piercing the silk-draped walls of the royal bedchamber and a powerful pharaoh. It is an invasion, but to understand the true scale of the war being fought, you have to look at Pharaoh touches the cold, still chest of his heir. The greatest man on earth is completely powerless. The 10th plague is not a negotiation tactic. It is a dethroning. The king who believed his heart held the massive, untouchable weight of divine glory is reduced to a weeping father kneeling on a marble floor. The final Egyptian god is broken. The Shephatim are complete. The cosmic courtroom is closed. But the most important detail of this night does not happen in the palace of the broken king. It happens on a rough wooden doorframe, miles away in the slums. A father stands by a rough wooden doorframe in the dark. The midnight air is thick, with the sound of wailing drifting over from the Egyptian estates. He is holding a basin of crushed pottery in his calloused hands. The warm blood of a yearling lamb pools at the bottom. He dips a coarse branch of hyssop into the bowl and smears a heavy, wet red streak across the wooden lintel. Inside the small house, the air smells of roasted meat and bitter herbs. The family eats standing up, their leather sandals strapped tightly to their feet, their wooden walking staffs gripped securely in their hands. The bread in their mouths is flat, heavy, and unleavened because there is no time to let the yeast rise. A single Hebrew word God uses to describe exactly what he is doing in the darkness. They are chewing on the haste of their deliverance. But why this specific ritual? Why does the God of the Hebrews require blood painted on the outside of a house to spare the people inside? In the ancient Near East, the threshold of a home is a deeply sacred space. It is the ultimate boundary line between the chaos of the outside world and the safety of the family. The Egyptians constantly placed protective amulets at their doors and carved the names of their household gods onto their doorposts to ward off disease and evil spirits. They trusted the architecture of their pantheon to keep the darkness out. Yahweh does not ask the Israelites to carve a Hebrew prayer or hang a protective amulet. He asks them to slaughter a young sheep. You have to remember what a sheep represents in the Egyptian ecosystem. Sheep are associated with Khnum, the powerful ram-headed creator god of the Nile. To publicly kill a yearling lamb in Egypt is an act of deep religious desecration. The blood on the door is not just a magical ward against death. It is a public, dangerous declaration of treason. By painting that warm red blood on the exterior of their homes, the Hebrew slaves are visibly rejecting the gods of their oppressors. They are declaring to the night sky, to their Egyptian neighbors, and to themselves that they no longer trust the system that has enslaved them. Exodus chapter 12, verse 12. The final night is approaching. The firstborn are sleeping. The lambs have been slaughtered. They are stepping out from under the canopy of Nut, rejecting the light of Ra, and placing their lives entirely in the hands of the God who breaks empires. We often view the Passover purely as a moment of divine rescue. We read it as a supernatural shield, but before it is a shield, it is a choice. Every family sitting in the glow of their oil lamps, listening to the screams of the broken empire outside, has crossed a line they can never walk back over. But the echoes of this night do not stop in the ancient dust of the delta. The river bled, and the source of wealth became a rotting shoreline. The frogs swarmed, and the symbol of life brought only suffocating disgust. The dust bit and the holiest men were locked out of their own temples. The heart grew heavy, and a king's own justice system became his death sentence. The herds collapsed, and the divine providers rotted in the open dirt. The soot burned, and the gods of healing were brought to their knees in the ash. The ice smashed the barley, and the airtight canopy of the sky caved in. The wet, black clay presses between his bare toes as he lifts his hands to honor the water, the source of his empire's immense wealth. And families are hurriedly brushing blood onto rough wooden doorposts. And in the dark, God tells Moses exactly what the last 11 chapters have actually been about. The locusts descended, and the breadbasket of the ancient world was chewed to a wasteland. The sun died, and the supreme creator of the universe was held hostage in the dark. The firstborn fell, and the future of an invincible empire was erased in a single night. 10 strikes, 10 judgments, 1 dismantled pantheon. But maybe the part that stays with me most is that painted doorframe in the slums of Goshen, a slave holding a rough branch of hyssop, dipping it into a bowl, and making a choice. Not a choice to rebel against a political leader. A choice to actively reject the spiritual ecosystem that had defined his entire life. A choice to trust that the blood of a lamb could hold back the darkness better than the golden walls of Egypt. If you are in a season where your own canopy of control is cracking, this story is for you. Maybe the career, or the bank account, or the predictable rhythm you trusted to keep you safe suddenly feels completely powerless against the chaos of your life. He says, "On all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgments." The word translated as judgments in your English Bible is the Hebrew Shephatim. Do not grip the heavy things of Egypt. Let the system fall. The God who dismantles our modern pantheons is not doing it to destroy you. He is doing it to show you that the structures you worship cannot save you, and that He can. And may the God who broke the greatest superpower on earth with a shepherd's staff walk with you through the ruins of your own collapsing systems and lead you out, carrying a freedom you could not have received any other way. It is a heavy, legal word. It comes from the root shafat, which means to judge, to litigate, to govern, or to render a verdict that restores justice. It is the language of a courtroom, not a battlefield. When God uses Shephatim, He is declaring that a formal cosmic trial is reaching its conclusion. That single word changes how you read the entire sequence of the disasters. The 10 plagues are not a series of random natural anomalies. They are 10 targeted executions. To understand the gravity of this, you have to understand how the ancient Egyptian mind constructed reality. Egypt was not a secular state with a state-sponsored religion. It was a thoroughly integrated spiritual organism. They worshipped upwards of 2,000 deities, and these gods were not distant concepts living above the clouds. They were the river. They were the frogs. They were the heat beating down on your skin. They were the crops pushing through the soil. You could not take a breath in the Nile Delta without interacting with a god. The priests burned thick, heavy-scented Kaifi incense in dark, limestone temples, the very body of a god. Egypt is not just a nation. It is an airtight spiritual ecosystem, a fortress of divine order. To keep this cosmic machinery running, they believed that as long as the rituals were maintained, the empire was invincible. They believed a principle called Ma'at, divine order and balance, would hold the chaos at bay. God is not just freeing Hebrew slaves. He is dismantling the foundational architecture of the greatest superpower on earth. Piece by piece, God by God, He is demonstrating that the entities Egypt trusted to provide, protect, and sustain life are entirely powerless when the creator of the cosmos speaks. He is picking them off, one by one. And to see the chilling precision of this cosmic trial, you have to watch where the first blows actually land. Because the God of the Hebrews does not begin his deconstruction in the sky or in the throne room. He starts by striking the water they drink and the dirt they walk on. The clay is wet. The staff strikes. The river bleeds. Look at the water. Khnum is the ram-headed guardian of the Nile's source. Hapi is the spirit of the flood. They are the providers. They are supposed to bring the rich. Black silt that feeds the empire. Instead, they deliver a rotting shoreline. The stench of dead fish and warm copper chokes the delta. Every drop of water, every ray of light, every stalk of wheat is governed by a face. A name. A deity who demands worship and promises absolute protection. The people dig frantic holes in the sand just to find a drop of clear water to drink. 7 days pass. The staff points at the water again. Frogs crawl from the reeds. Thousands of them. They cover the polished limestone steps. They slip into the clay baking ovens. They smother the silk sheets of the royal beds. You cannot walk in the palace without feeling them burst under your leather sandals. This is a direct assault on Heket. She is the fertility goddess with the head of a frog. She breathes life into the lungs of Egyptian newborns. She is revered. She is protected. But now, her sacred symbol becomes a suffocating, slimy nightmare. The symbol of life brings only disgust. Then, without a warning or a word to Pharaoh, Aaron strikes the dirt. The sand beneath their feet shivers. The dust of the earth transforms. Swarms of gnats rise into the wind. They bite the skin. They sting the eyes. They crawl into the freshly shaved heads of the Egyptian priests. The priests are suddenly ritually impure. They cannot enter their own temples. They cannot burn their sweet incense. Their religious machinery grinds to a complete, terrifying halt. Because the dirt belongs to Geb. He is the great god of the earth. The very foundation the empire stands on is weaponized against its own people. The river dies. The frogs swarm. The dust bites. Egypt is bleeding, croaking, and scratching. The elemental gods, water, fertility, and earth have been brought to. And then, a man who smells of desert dust and sheep steps into his line of sight. A heavy wooden staff is raised. Wood strikes water. Their knees in a matter of days. The people are crying out. The economy is fracturing. This is not a string of bad luck. It is a systematic humiliation. Even Pharaoh's own magicians see the pattern. They drop their tools. They scratch their swollen skin. They look at the king and speak the only truth left in the room. This is the finger of God. But the king does not bend. He sits on his throne. He watches his lower gods fail. And the text tells us his heart grows hard. But to understand why he refuses to yield even as his nation crumbles, you have to look inside that chest. You have to understand what was waiting for an Egyptian king on the other side of death. The most famous organ in the book of Exodus is a heart that will not break. When we read the English text, it tells us over and over again that Pharaoh hardened his heart. We naturally picture a stubborn man, digging his heels into the polished marble floor of his palace, stubbornly refusing to admit defeat. We read it as a psychological description of a proud political leader. But to an ancient Egyptian reader, a hardened heart was not a metaphor for stubbornness. It was a terrifying legal verdict. Look at Exodus chapter 8, verse 15. The frogs have died. The terrifying swarms have temporarily ceased. The current thickens. The sharp, metallic smell of copper fills the morning breeze. The river turns red. Fish float to the surface, gasping and dying. And the text says, "But when Pharaoh saw that there was a respite, he hardened his heart." The word your Bible translates as hardened here is the Hebrew chavd. Its literal root meaning is not stiff, rigid, or solid. It means heavy. It is the exact same root used for the word kavod, which normally translates to glory, wealth, or weightiness. But here, the weight is not glorious. This specific linguistic choice changes everything when you place it inside the ancient Egyptian view of the afterlife. When a pharaoh died, he believed his soul would enter the Hall of Two Truths. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the dead, would take the king's literal heart and place it on one side of a great golden scale. On the other side of the scale sat a single ostrich feather, the feather of Maat, the goddess of divine truth, balance, and order. If the king had lived a just life, his heart would be as light as that feather, and he would pass into eternal paradise. But if he had been cruel, unjust, and wicked, his heart would physically absorb the density of his crimes. His heart would be heavy, and a heavy heart would violently drop the scale, where it would be instantly devoured by Ammit, a crocodilian monster, erasing the king from existence. God is using Pharaoh's own theology to condemn him. Moses is not just saying Pharaoh is being difficult to negotiate with. Their silver scales coated in a rust-colored sludge. Water becomes blood. Frogs swarm the royal beds. Dust transforms into gnats. Same rhythm, again and again. He is declaring that Pharaoh is failing his own ultimate test. Pharaoh believes he possesses kavod, the heavy, glorious weight of divine majesty. But God looks at him and declares his heart is merely havad. The heart is not just stubborn, it is heavy with injustice. Heavy with the blood of Hebrew infants thrown into the Nile. Heavy with cosmic guilt. By the standard of his own religion, Pharaoh is already a dead man walking. If seeing this kind of ancient context makes the Bible suddenly snap into focus for you, you're exactly who this channel is for. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So the plagues elevate to the next tier of the pantheon. God has broken the water and the dirt, and the heavy-hearted king has refused to listen. Now the staff points toward the pastures and the bodies of the Egyptians themselves. A low, guttural groan rolls across the royal pastures. A black bull, marked with a sacred white diamond on its forehead, drops to its knees in the dry dirt. Foam drips from its jaw. Its massive chest heaves once. It does not stand back up. The fifth strike falls. It hits the livestock. Horses collapse in the military stables. Donkeys fall on the ancient trade routes. Most people assume the 10 plagues of Egypt were just a divine temper tantrum, a random collection of natural disasters meant to simply terrorize. Camels die in the desert caravans. Sheep rot in the open fields. The wealth of the nation is erased in a single afternoon. The economy breaks. The food supply plummets. The military loses its cavalry. This is a direct assault on Hathor. She is the great goddess with the horns of a cow. She is the divine mother of the pharaohs. She is supposed to nurture the nation. She is supposed to provide the milk of life. But her sacred herds are now rotting under the blistering sun, filling the air with the sweet, sickening smell of decay. The Apis bull, worshipped in the capital as a living, breathing idol, is reduced to a dead animal in the dirt. Then, the rhythm accelerates. Moses does not speak a warning. He walks to a brick kiln. He gathers 2 handfuls of black soot. He throws the ash straight into the wind. The ash scatters. The skin breaks, festering. Open sores erupt on man and beast. Red, inflamed boils cover the legs of the servants. They spread across the chests of the nobles. The soot coats the skin. The skin blisters. The blisters burst. The pain is blinding. This is a targeted strike against Imhotep. He is the deified architect, the god of medicine and healing, a stubborn ruler into submission. And they certainly broke him. But if you look closer at the specific nature of each disaster, at the hieroglyphs carved, it is a strike against Sekhmet, the fierce, lion-headed goddess who holds the power to cure plagues. The people cry out to the wind shifts over the delta. A low, vibrating hum fills the heavy air. A thick, black cloud of flies descends on the capital. They swarm the open-air markets. They cover the roasted meats. They crawl across the gold-plated statues in the temples. The Egyptian god, Khepri, the deity of creation and resurrection, is depicted with the head of an insect, a scarab beetle. Insects are sacred. They are symbols of eternal life. But now, they are an uncontrolled, biting terror. And then the plague stretches out into the pastures. A bull drops in the field. A horse collapses in the chariot stall. A camel gasps its last breath in the dust. The sprawling herds of Egyptian livestock begin to die en masse. The air fills with the smell of rotting flesh under the brutal sun. This is an assault on the ancient stock market. But more importantly, it is a direct strike against the providers. Hathor, the great mother goddess of love and protection, is worshipped in the form of a cow. Apis, the sacred bull, is revered as a literal, breathing incarnation of the divine. The Egyptians worship the very animals that are now.